welcome back to the Pond the Hockey postgame show. I'm Devin Caney, and it is time for our Diamond Debate presented by Mark's Jewelers. Mark's is always hooking me up with the best stuff. As you guys know, every week I get to show off my bling. This week, I know Valentine's Day is coming up. The holidays did just pass, but they gave me a cute little heart necklace, some hoop earrings, this bracelet. They're like really outdoing themselves. So if you need to get your significant other any jewelry, any gifts for Valentine's Day, go to Mark's Jewelers. They will definitely hook you up. All right, guys, let's get into our Diamond Debate this week. As we all know, the Eagles secured the #1 seed in the NFC, and the road to the Super Bowl now officially runs through Philadelphia. That being said, looking ahead, how far do you think the Eagles will make it in the postseason? Yes, given their performance today. Yes, given their performances the last 3 weeks, but also throughout the entire season. Options are divisional round, championship round, loss in the Super Bowl, win in the Super Bowl. Right now on Twitter, and if you're tuning in, you can go vote on Twitter and also on the community section on the YouTube channel. Super Bowl win is winning 56%. 12% say a loss in the Super Bowl, 19% championship round, and just 11% say divisional round. What do you guys think?
Well, there's so many ways that this can go in the playoffs, and I keep saying that it's likely Dallas. If you're looking at chalk, Dallas is the lowest remaining seed. But I think the Giants can actually beat the Vikings, which means the Giants can come here. I think the Eagles are better than anybody they can play in their first playoff game. Do I think they're better than San Francisco even coming to Lincoln Financial Field? That's where I may draw the line. So if you're asking me for an answer right now, I would say right now I would pick them to lose the NFC title game.
Okay.
When you talk about San Francisco, this kid Brock Purdy has been a great story, one of the great stories of the NFL this season. But now we have to see what Brock Purdy can do when the intensity is magnified 100 times. Playoff intensity, pressure is much greater than regular season intensity and pressure. What the 49ers have done is surrounded this young man on both sides of the football with an incredible amount of talent. Can he come in here and get the job done? If I'm playing San Francisco, I want to play them in my backyard. And you're playing a third-string quarterback, I'm going to say the Eagles, if they get back to the football that we were accustomed to seeing them play most of this season, they have the talent, the depth, and the versatility to get all the way to the Super Bowl. Much better to play 2 games than 3 games. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say they're going to win the Super Bowl, because on the other side, the possibilities are you're playing Kansas City, Buffalo, or Cincinnati, and both of those teams have great talent, great quarterbacks. But I do believe if they get back to where they were, not the last 3 games we watched, but where they were, they have the skill set and the talent and the firepower on both sides of the football to at least get to the Super Bowl.
Yep, I agree. Seth, what say you?
For me, it's a question of if. If they can get back, like D. Gunn said, to where they need to be offensively. I'm not worried about them defensively. I'm really not. I'm really alarmed by what I see and what I've witnessed over the last couple of weeks about them, how they played offensively. And the mindset of these coaches, to come out throwing the ball all over the place and then having to go back, at the end of the second quarter or the second half and come out and try to establish the run game instead of establishing the line of scrimmage from Jump Street. If they can't get back to where they were and San Francisco comes in here, I don't think the way that they're playing right now that they can beat San Francisco. I'm just being frank about it. And listen, and D. Gunn, to me, it doesn't have nothing to do with Brock Purdy, because Brock Purdy is going to manage the game.
Right.
That defense is the best defense in the NFL.
Yes.
And the addition in the running game of Christian McCaffrey and his ability to get out of the backfield one-on-one against linebackers.
Yes. Or safeties.
And then George Kittle's playing at George Kittle's level again. When you throw all of those pieces into the mix, what has to happen is this offense has got to be ready to be clicking like they were in weeks 12, weeks 13, and weeks 14 before, the Washington loss. Then they came back and they got it right the following week, and then Jalen got hurt. And the next thing you know, the offense has been out of sync since then. If they can't figure out how to get it where it needs to be, I believe that they're going to win the divisional round. I got real questions if it's San Francisco And I don't care where they come, whether it's here, there, or anywhere for that matter. That team is dangerous.
Here's my two biggest concerns. The health of Lane Johnson. If he doesn't play and they keep putting Jack Driscoll on that right side, that's a major problem. Get it set in your minds that Vontae Maddox probably won't be available. So whoever San Francisco or anybody else with any kind of speed has matching up with somebody in the slot on the Eagles, 9 times out of 10, that's a win for the opposition.
Yeah.
Those two positions are vital to the success of this team. Now, if you're talking about moving Mailata over to the right side and bringing in Andre Dillard, now you're talking about moving 2/5 of your offensive line. What kind of continuity are you going to have at that point? Because you haven't had to do it for much of the season. They only moved one piece of the equation by putting Driscoll on their right side. And I'm telling you right now, Driscoll is not the answer on the right side.
I'm telling you, if Driscoll, I don't care what decision they make, if you can't get Lane Johnson to man his normal spot,
right,
you got problems.
It's a major problem.
Because Bosa's going to line up on Jack Driscoll and drool off his face mask all game long.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? And if you make the switch that you're talking about and you take Mailata and put him over at right and put Andre Dillard in, he's going to line up on Dillard and be drooling off his face mask again.
Right.
I'm telling you. You know, so when you put all of these things together, you know, the injury to Hurts, the non-continuity, the injury to Lane Johnson, you put all of these things together, the inconsistency and the stubbornness of this offensive staff to just take the low-hanging fruit. When you're playing against teams that can't stop the run the damn football.
Here's why I also
allow your quarterback to manage the game from that point.
I also worry about the 49ers coming here because I know in the playoffs, if you have to play on the road a lot, it wears you down a little bit. They're going to play 2 home games as the 2 seed. So, they roll at home, and they're going to come here with a lot of confidence. So they have to play 1 road game to get to the Super Bowl, and that would be here. I would like it a lot better if they had to take a harder route to get here than play the 2 home games and then get here. Because coming across country to win 1 game, the way this team plays defense, that travels.
Well, they've won 10 in a row for a reason. They're very good at being chameleons and adjusting on the fly in terms of doing what is necessary to get the job done. They attack your weaknesses well on both sides of the football. If the Eagles, again, I can't say this enough, if they get back to what we grew accustomed to watching, how the Eagles would attack opponents' weaknesses, take advantage of it, win the turnover battle, it's going to be one heck of a football game here at Lincoln Financial Field. But there's a lot of question marks, not just with the Eagles, but with all these teams in the playoffs, because I've said it before and I'll say it again, this has been one of the most unpredictable seasons I've seen across the board in the National Football League, week in and week out, both in the NFC and the AFC.
Look at what happened with the Cowboys and the Commanders today.
Exactly.
If anything, honestly, the Cowboys were worrying me, I'd say even more so before the Christmas Eve loss as a playoff opponent for the Eagles. And now, after watching them against Washington, I'm like, okay, I'd much rather take them than the 49ers. But looking at today's game, and I know you guys kind of touched on this in the first segment, part of me wonders if Sirianni and Steichen and really the entire offense approached this game almost as a preseason game, because the play calling was vanilla. And I do wonder if maybe that played a role in the lack of scoring. They're protecting Jalen Hurts, the O-line issues and injuries, and Lane Johnson being out obviously hurts. But part of me feels like they were just doing it to protect them because they know it's ahead for the playoffs.
I totally agree.
Like, I don't.
I totally agree.
Today's game does not
I
concern
think
me.
the teams, when they approach a game, they knew they were going to win this game. They weren't going to lose this game to Davis Webb. So I think it makes you play down a level. And the whole message was, Jalen, don't risk anything. Don't even get close to a defender. Go down, throw the ball out of bounds. We're not going to run you with RPOs, and you're going to carry the football.
They took away his biggest asset.
Right, and I think that translates down to the team saying, okay, we're just in this to survive. We're not in this to go hair on fire, win, and crush, and go into the playoffs with all this momentum.
Right.
We're going to
the
find
way
out.
I feel about it.
We're going to find
Seth
out.
hates that.
Seth is literally
the
laughing
fact that teams would
right
think
now,
like that.
so.
Yeah, because you can't play the game with that type of mentality.
I understand, but Seth, they do.
I'm sorry you can't. No, you can't, Mike. No, you can't.
You can't, but they
You
do.
cannot play that way because you want to know something. It's all fun and games, to somebody takes your head off your shoulders. Okay, so that's what the game of football is about. That's the physicality of the game. So you can't afford to take anything or anybody for granted in any situation at any time. If you do, then that's where you get hurt, and that's where you lose football games. Plain and simple.
I get it, but it happens time and time again in this league where lesser teams will upset somebody because their mindset was we don't really have to work that hard in this game.
All right, well, let me ask you this before we run out of time on our Diamond Debate presented by Mark's Jewelers. We kind of touched briefly on the potential AFC opponents that the Eagles would face should they make it to the Super Bowl. Of the Bengals, the Bills, and the Chiefs, who worries you the most? Do the Eagles stand a chance against any of them?
Sure they do.
I think they could beat the Bengals. I think they would be favored in that game. I'm not so sure they'd be favored against Buffalo or Kansas City.
I think they beat Buffalo and Cincinnati. I don't think they stand a chance. They don't stand a chance against Andy Reid, and I tell you why. I watched Kansas City yesterday, and Kansas City doesn't necessarily overwhelm you because they're so talented. Andy Reid is so much smarter than the rest of the coaches in the National Football League that it's not even funny, okay? Because he attacks your weaknesses. He attacks the things that he knows that you will do because you're technically and fundamentally unsound, okay? So he messes with your eyes with motion. So defensive players, everything is about your eye discipline, what you're looking at. Because the things that you look at tells you what's going to happen right now. But you got guys moving all over the place and shifting all over the place, and your eyes become undisciplined because you can't stay locked and focused on the thing that you should be keying. And then you get caught up. And
Are you talking about that snow globe play they ran?
All of that stuff.
All of it. Think about the shovel pass that Patrick Mahomes threw yesterday for a touchdown. He does that every week,
he scares
and
me.
nobody can stop it.
Yeah.
You thought he was going to turn up and run. He just flicks it.
You want to know why, D-Gun? Because the guy who caught the pass, his man decided to come off and go get the quarterback.
Yes, exactly.
Where if he just stays on his guy, and the safety is the one that's free. See, this is where communication in the game of football is so vital. You got to talk about these situations, and the players and the coaches and everybody talk about situational football all the time, okay? So if we find ourselves in that situation, and 9 times out of 10, you're in man and you got the safety over the top, okay? If we find ourselves in that situation, okay, you go get the quarterback, I'll stick on the man, or vice versa. But if you don't have those conversations, and Patrick Mahomes knows, I look like I'm going to score. Here they come. Here they both come. Oh, here. Touchdown.
Here's the thing that really got me earlier this season when I heard Travis Kelce say, there's certain plays we just talk about and do in practice a couple of times a week. It's not an Andy Reid playbook. It's stuff they create off of existing plays, and they work like a charm. Not many teams do that in the National Football League, and these guys love it because Andy Reid gives them the leeway to have input and creativity into what they do. You'll see them line up in a play 10 times, and you'll see 10 different variations of the play that work well for them. You don't see a lot of teams that do that. That's what makes them so successful. Plus, you have a quarterback who doesn't scramble to run. He scrambles to buy time. And the more you let that man stand back there, the more you're going to allow him to find somebody else down the field.
They take advantage of your undisciplined nature, and they take advantage of your lack of technical skills, and they take advantage, of your lack of technique and fundamentals. And they look at that. And it's like when you get play away, the defensive end or the outside linebacker on the end of the line of scrimmage, he's not supposed to chase because there's a potential for plays coming back the other way, and he's the last player left on that side for containment, But when you're studying game film and you see every time they go away, he's crashing. Guess what they're going to do? They're coming back with some kind of jet sweep, or they're going to run a bootleg or something. So they're looking at. But if you're technically and fundamentally sound, okay, and you play within the integrity of the defense and how it was designed, and your eye discipline is where it is. That's why Kansas City is so hard to beat, because most teams aren't disciplined that way.
Right.
When I see linebackers lined up the wrong foot up and all that kind of nonsense, that tells me that the coaches are allowing them to do that. If they allow them to do that, what else are they allowed to get away with?
Yeah. Well,
Bottom line is, I agree with Seth. I think they'd be a 7-point underdog against the Chiefs. I think they'd be a slight favorite over the Bengals, and I think they'd be like a
3-point underdog.
4-point dog against the Bills.
Yeah.
So,
See,
so I think Cincinnati is the one team that you think they
And Cincinnati is a dangerous team.
Yeah.
And the thing about the Chiefs is, the Chiefs are kind of like the Colts when Peyton Manning was playing. They forced New England to switch the style of football that they played because they could score on every possession. You know, when they made the adjustment and they went to spread, and when Peyton started to get it and they started to throw it all over the place, they made New England get out of that 3 tight end set and get into a more spread offense. Why? Because they realized that the Colts could score on every single possession, and they had to keep pace. And they couldn't keep pace out of a 3 tight end set. So they had to spread the ball out, get a slot guy like, Wes Welker or whoever you had in there. You had to have back coming out of the backfield, and you had to have Gronk. There was a threat. They had no threats on the outside. So my point is, with the Eagles, if they play Kansas City has the potential to score on every single possession, which means that the Eagles are going to have to keep count, and they're going to have to keep up every single possession.
So does Buffalo and Cincinnati.
Yeah,
those 3 teams have the capability to score in any possession.
They do. But Buffalo, I've watched Buffalo all season long. They've had times where they haven't looked all that dangerous.
I agree.
Cincinnati, the same thing. Kansas City struggled early in the season, but they're right now.
Yeah.
And when they're
they're
they're dangerous because they got a plethora of guys that not only that they can throw to, not only running backs out of the backfield, but tight ends, wide receivers. You just don't know where it's going.
All right. Well, if it comes down to it and the Eagles are playing one of those AFC teams, it means they made it to the Super Bowl. So we hope that actually comes to fruition. Stick around. We're going to take a quick break. You just witnessed the Diamond Debate presented by Mark's Jewelers on the Pond Hockey post-game show. Here's a quick message from our partners.